Welcome to this explainer. We are jumping right into something that is incredibly diverse, sometimes totally chaotic, and honestly just completely fascinating: the animal kingdom. I mean, look around and you'll see wildly different forms of life everywhere. So today, we're actually unpacking the master blueprint of life to see exactly how every single creature on Earth connects. To put this into perspective, scientists have described over 1 million different species of animals so far. 1 million. From microscopic parasitic worms all the way up to gigantic blue whales. Keeping track of every single living creature sounds like an absolute logistical nightmare, right?
So, with so many wildly different forms of life, swimming, crawling, and flying around, how do biologists possibly sort all of this beautiful chaos into a logical system? Well, the secret actually lies in finding common fundamental features. That way, we can assign a proper, systematic position to any newly described species we might stumble across.
Here is how we're going to break it down today. First, sorting 1 million species. Then, the biological blueprint, followed by the world of invertebrates, introducing the chordates, and finally, the vertebrate family tree. Let's get into it.
Section 2. The biological blueprint.
Okay, so the very first sorting rule is the level of organization. Complexity starts way down at the cellular level, where an animal is basically just a loose aggregate of cells. Think of a sea sponge. But when cells team up for specific functions, they form tissues. Those tissues then combine into specialized organs, which is a massive leap we first see in flatworms. And finally, in more advanced animals, organs synchronize perfectly to form complete organ systems, kind of like your own digestive or circulatory systems. Next up is symmetry, which essentially dictates a creature's entire body plan. Now, radial symmetry means any plane passing through the central axis divides the organism into identical halves. It's kind of like slicing a pie. Bilateral symmetry, on the other hand, means the body can be divided into identical left and right halves in only one single plane. This is that highly directed, forward-facing body plan that you, me, and honestly, most complex animals share. And that brings us to a really critical evolutionary divide: the coelom. This is a crucial vocabulary word. It's a body cavity lined by mesoderm tissue, and it's an absolute game changer because it allows internal organs to grow and move completely independently of the outer body wall. True coelomates have it. Pseudocoelomates, like roundworms, have sort of a false cavity. And acoelomates, like flatworms, lack it entirely, which really limits their overall size and complexity.
Section 3. The world of invertebrates. Starting from the ground up, we have porifera, or sponges. They survive purely on cellular organization, literally just filtering water through this unique canal system. A step up from that brings us to coelenterata, which are armed with defensive stinging capsules called cnidoblasts. Then, complexity takes this really mesmerizing turn with cotenophora. These are your bioluminescent comb jellies that swim using tiny comb plates. Contrast all that with platyhelminthes. These are the completely acolomate flatworms that often survive purely as parasites using these highly specialized hooks and suckers. Now, as we keep scaling this evolutionary ladder, the architecture upgrades rapidly. Aschelminthes, or roundworms, introduce that false body cavity we talked about. Then annelids, like your everyday earthworm, arrive with a true coelom and distinctly segmented bodies. And this perfectly sets the stage for mollusca, which is actually the second largest animal phylum. These are your snails and octopuses, creatures with soft bodies smartly protected by heavy calcareous shells and specialized mantles.
But the absolute, undisputed rulers of the animal kingdom are the arthropods. Insects, spiders, and crabs make up a staggering 67% of all named species on Earth, 2/3. Their immense success really comes down to having a highly adaptable protective exoskeleton and jointed appendages. This combo has allowed them to conquer virtually every single microenvironment on the planet.
Rounding out the major invertebrates, we have the echinodermata. These are marine animals like starfish and sea urchins. And beyond their spiny exteriors, their true superpower is a water vascular system. It's basically this incredible hydraulic network of fluid-filled canals that lets them move, capture food, and even respire in a way that is entirely unique to their phylum.
Section 4. Introducing the chordates.
So, the leap from non-chordates to chordates brings some massive structural upgrades. The real defining feature here is the notochord, which comes accompanied by paired gill slits. Also, notice the total inversion of the nervous system. In non-chordates, it's solid and ventral, right? But in chordates, it flips to become dorsal, single, and hollow. The heart moves to the ventral side, and we see the debut of a brand new, game-changing feature, the postanal tail. Section 5. The Vertebrate Family Tree. Now, within the chordates sits our own subphylum, the Vertebrata, where that soft embryonic notochord is crucially replaced by a sturdy cartilaginous or bony vertebral column in the adult. Before evolution even started tinkering with limbs, vertebrates actually split based on the mouth. On one side, you have the agnatha. These are primitive, jawless vertebrates, like lampreys, that survive as blood-sucking ectoparasites on other fish. Pretty wild, right? But on the other side is a massive evolutionary upgrade, gnathtstomata. These are the jaw-bearing animals perfectly equipped to actively hunt and dominate their ecosystems.
Within this jawed group, Pisces rules the water, but they use two very different strategies. Chondrichthyes, which are the cartilaginous fishes like great white sharks, actually lack an air bladder. That means they have to swim constantly just to keep from sinking. Conversely, osteichthyes, the bony fishes, completely solve this buoyancy problem. With a built-in air bladder, creatures like seahorses and flying fish can effortlessly hover and regulate their depth like a submarine.
Then, creeping onto land, class Amphibia represents a really vital transition. Frogs and salamanders live a dual life. They breathe through moist, scaleless skin and are equipped with a 3-chambered heart. But the catch is, they haven't entirely escaped the water. They are still biologically tethered to aquatic environments to perform external fertilization and reproduce.
Class Reptilia, however, completely shattered that watery tether. By developing dry, cornified skin with scales, they locked moisture inside their bodies. And even more revolutionary, they evolved internal fertilization. Because they no longer needed a pond to reproduce, this creeping, crawling class, from heavily armored turtles to highly venomous cobras, was finally able to conquer the deep interiors of dry land.
Now, to take to the skies, Class Aves required some extreme biological engineering. Their forelimbs transformed into feather-covered wings, and their bones became pneumatic, meaning they're hollow, to drastically cut down on weight. Powering this kind of flight requires immense energy. That's exactly why birds boast a highly efficient 4-chambered heart and homeothermy. They are warm-blooded, maintaining a constant internal furnace to fuel their superactive lifestyles.
And finally, we arrive at our own class, Mammalia. Defined by hair-covered skin and milk-producing mammary glands to nourish our young, mammals have pushed biological adaptation to its absolute limits. Thanks to a 4-chambered heart and the massive evolutionary advantage of live birth, with rare egg-laying exceptions like the platypus, of course, mammals have successfully claimed almost every extreme habitat on Earth, from kangaroos in the outback to deep-diving blue whales.
So, the next time you spot an unfamiliar creature, try to look past its surface. Ask yourself about its blueprint. What kind of symmetry does it have? Does it have a coelom? What is its underlying architecture? Because when you realize that every single physical trait is just an ancient solution to a survival problem, the real question becomes, what will the next major evolutionary upgrade look like? And how is it going to rewrite this family tree entirely? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you next time.